every generation has a mission, and then it becomes your responsibility to either fulfill it or betray it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unfinished Bridge, a podcast by the Sheikh Yar'Adua Foundation. I'm your host, Halima, and I'm joined by three incredible guests who I will now let introduce themselves. Hi, everyone. My name is Nalenhle Moyo. I'm from Zimbabwe, and I'm the Arts4Change program lead at Magamba Network.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Emmanuel Zulu. I come from Zambia. I'm a governance activist and I'm keen on seeing community-led kind of governance. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shola Fishonuga. I'm from Nigeria, and I am the Program Policy and Strategic Partnerships Manager at Electar.
Thank you so much. We're thrilled to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So I'll start with Emmanuel. As a young Zambian who actively participated in the 2021 election, can you share how the collective efforts of the youth contributed to the significant changes witnessed during that election?
Thank you very much, Halima. That's a very, very nice, important question. You remind me of what happened in that year when we were trying to transition from a government that I would say young people did not really like. I remember days where it's voting day, and you see people going to line up as early as 5 a.m. in the morning, wearing university graduation gowns. That means we really, really want to see change. Because young people, there was a wave in the country where we have said this election is going to be determined by us, because my country, Zambia, most of the youths are online. So there was that debate to say these guys are usually online. What are they going to do? Mm-hmm. And then we delivered the vote. Fortunate enough, and we ushered into government. We brought a government that we thought which was better for us. I actively participated myself, and I had the opportunity of even being at the National Toddling Center. Should have been the only youth on that date. The National Toddling Center is where you have polling stations all around the country, from all parts of the country, receiving votes at the center now. And then we have to, we were like shareholders. So it was a very good, very, very good experience for me, because I learned a lot on just how elections happen. You discover that there was what we're calling Gen 20 paper. When, let's say, this is a polling station and we have a national toddling center like in Lagos or just right here in Abuja, the votes that are collected here, you are like my polling agent. You get to read them, count them, and put your signature on the paper, capture and send to my WhatsApp. So we avoided reading of elections using that Gen 20 paper, and I think it brought out the results that we wanted, because then the change that we wanted, I think we saw a change of government, and most of the young people were very, very happy. So I think we came together as young people and we said, look, the country is not in good shape. I think if we know what's best for us, it's better we change government. We are the voices. So let's trust someone else with power. And we did it, and I'm proud to say young people were the dominant of the 2021 general elections in my country.
That's really incredible. So building on that, Shola, in the 2023 Nigerian elections, there was a notable surge in youth engagement. Can you elaborate on the various ways that Nigerian youth actively participated in the election?
So thank you for that question, Halima. And I think that youth participation in 2023 election is something that isn't praised enough. The Nigerian youth came out, mobilized, leading up to the elections. And even on the election day, although ultimately voter turnout was a little low, the work that the Nigerian youth had put into the election leading up to the day of the elections, I don't think can be overemphasized. And I would throw our mind back to the NSAS protests, which I think started the reawakening of the Nigerian youth. You know that there was a serious issue of police brutality in Nigeria in the year 2020, or in the years leading up to 2020. And it came to a point where this police group called SARS were brutalizing the Nigerian youth and profiling Nigerian youth, and always finding a reason to attack or negatively treat the Nigerian youth negatively. And it came to a point where people were dying, and the Nigerian youth population took to the streets to protest, which is, the very widely known NSAS protest. And a lot of things happened in that time. There was the Lekki Tollgate massacre, and then there was a lot of advocacy for reform, for police service reform, and then the SARS group was disbanded. But the momentum didn't end there for the Nigerian youth, and that energy and that inquisition into governance and government, I think, was that same energy that was then taken into the elections. And it was very interesting because usually in Nigeria, it's two major parties that would go to the polls. That's the PDP and the APC. And although Nigeria is a multi-party country, those two major parties are the prominent parties that you will always see the ticket holders, at least for the presidency and perhaps even for governorship positions. But this time around, there was somebody that emerged, the favorite of the young people, who is Peter Obi, and he didn't, run under the PDP or the APC. He ran under the Labour Party, and for someone that was not running in a prominent party, even though he didn't win the elections, the amount of noise, the amount of mobilization, the amount of support that he received in the short period of time that he made his intentions known for running under APC is something that I think we can also attribute to the youth. And I think that it's a lesson that we've learned also as young people in Nigeria, that if we wanted to, we could. We might have needed more time to mobilize, we might have needed more resources to mobilize and more agency. But if we take this kind of energy into the next elections, then who says that the popular, youth vote would not end up, in political leadership? So that's kind of what happened in the 2023 elections.
Okay. When we come to Nalenhle, so with digital democracy on the rise, how has Magamba Network utilized social media to enhance democratic engagement amongst the Maldives?
So my name is Nalenhle Moyo, as already mentioned. Magamba Network does a lot of work in civic tech. We do a lot of work in media, arts, and technology. So we try to merge all of those things. And like I mentioned earlier, we do find that young people are not watching the news, the traditional news that we have on TV, but we know that they're on social media, and we have to reach young people where they are. So what we do is we run campaigns. Sometimes we run, like if there's a particular issue that's happening in the country, we run a campaign with the hashtag. In the 2023 election, the previous general election, we had the hashtag #ElectionZW, and we use that to gather information on what's happening at the polls. And we have young people go to their polling stations and basically share what is happening. If there's anything that is against, sometimes things that are not supposed to be happening at the polling station, are people being turned away, are the votes being counted, have the ballot papers even arrived? There's certain circumstances where the ballot papers came late, and we could see in real time what was happening at the polling stations, because young people were posting about it and using the hashtag, and everyone was able to follow. We run campaigns, and then we also use social media to engage with the leaders once elected. So we have this thing that we call closing the loop. We engage with young people to get them involved, but we also say, once you vote someone into power, you need to go back and ask them if they are doing what you voted them in for, because it's one thing, we vote them in and then they have a whole term and you don't even know if they're even attending parliament. Your MP might be sitting at home and you're trusting that they're representing you, or maybe they're talking about issues that, and not the issues that you want to be represented by. So we do call in the elected officials, we interview them. We ask people to send in questions, whether it's like the MPs, the councillor, the mayors. They do agree because they also do want that publicity and to engage with the young people. So we interview them on our platforms on Facebook Live, and people can then comment and ask questions in real time. So what we really focus on is to have the conversations and have them where the young people are, which is basically on social media, and social media platforms that are accessible and widely used by Zimbabweans and specifically young people include X and Facebook. So, and we also sometimes use WhatsApp channels. So we try as much as possible to diversify that and just reach young people.
Manuel, can you share the journey that led you to become a key figure in the Alliance for Responsibility advocates in Zambia?
Okay. Funny enough, I think. Okay, let me explain this. Like, let me put it in this way. I'm known for being so radical in my country. I don't like, I see a problem and I keep quiet, or I tweet about it, or I make a Facebook post. I would rather go there, face it, and see what's happening. And I think you even get like the reaction in a proper way. I can't post about your problems without having an interaction with you. If I have an interaction with you, then you'll be able to share. Or I think, Emmanuel, we could do this here, we could do it like that. The decision that I'm going to make is one that is very informative because I'm getting first-hand information. So I've always believed that governance or the issues of democracy, good governance and stuff like that have been debated or talked about by a certain clique of people who have got information. I come from a country of about 20 million people. And out of that 20 million people, only about 1 million are online. Yeah, so maybe, who knows, maybe those who have smartphones and they can access Facebook are only maybe 60,000. We don't know. So if I make a Facebook post talking about good governance, not everybody is going to learn. I believe on going to the grassroots. So I mentioned that I did go on a very, very long walk on foot, which is about 410 kilometers, like 225 miles, I think 225 miles. So we went to about 14 districts, 2 provinces. That's the capital city, Lusaka, and the Copper Belt, where I come from. So we managed to meet at least people in 14 districts. I think that's a huge number to start with. Then we saw problems. Yeah. Yeah. You can imagine you find a development that, I don't know how I can explain this. This development has like kids in it, and then there's only one school. And then that school, they have to cover like 15 kilometers to school, going to school and coming back. This is the person who's only in grade 1. Imagine how tired they'll get back home late, and then maybe they have to cross a bush, there's a river, and there's a dilapidated bridge. So all those things who are unearthing as we are moving. So we found this and this and this and this. So like that, you talk to the people, what you want here. And then if they say what they want, and then you ask them, who's your duty bearer? We'll tell you, no, our duty bearer, since we voted for them, they never return back, never had a conversation with them. And then we tell them the real issues to say, these are your civic rights. If you elect someone to office, you should hold them to account. Yeah.
That's incredible. That's cool. I think something we all echo is that social media is really powerful in today's age. So how do you leverage digital platforms to enhance female participation in democracy?
That's me.
Yes.
Yes. So social media is a huge tool. Digital platforms, even the possibilities are limitless and the possibilities are endless. And I think that in this day and age, if you're not using social media to push, the agenda of women's inclusion, then perhaps, go back to the drawing board, because that's where most of the young people are. At Electa, I would take it back to the elections because this is a good example. we had what we called the elector election hub. So usually, people would go out to monitor elections or to observe elections, and then there'll be situation rooms where you're crunching the data and you're flagging, violence against women incidences or violence against persons incidences to security agencies, or you're flagging situations where it's seeming like it's getting out of control. This very, very important. But for elector, we wanted to include the human element to it. So we realized that we always have what we like to call these echo chamber conversations within the governance space, within the development space, where we're talking to ourselves. We know the issues and we're echoing the issues to ourselves. But it's important that the average person on the street also understands the issues until we get to the point where the average individual on the street understands the issues and is echoing back to you, this is what we need to do. We need more women included. We need more youth included. Then at the end of the day, what are we actually doing?
That's powerful. Finally.
So I think from what they said, there's like a specific quote that's been running on my mind. I think 2024. We did replaying. It's by Franz Fanon, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And he speaks of how he says, obviously, just not word by word, but every generation has a mission, and then it becomes your responsibility to either fulfill it or betray it. And so now that's a question that we have to ask ourselves. When we look back and say we betrayed ourselves, will our children look at us and say, but where were you when all of this was happening? And why didn't you stand up for it? Or stand up against it? So my final words would be that there's space for everyone. It might look like, oh, you need to be able to sit and talk in front of people. It's not always that. There's so many things that you can do to contribute, to the civic space, the engagement. We now see like the advent of civic tech. If you're someone who's like into technology, you can start to think of innovative ways on how you can support Emmanuel as he runs his thing. Maybe you run like an app that shows where's Emmanuel now. He's walking 400 kilometers and we're tracking his journey. And then you open up and you say, wherever you are in the world, donate and the proceeds will go. There's so much that can be done. There's the tech side, there's the art side, there's, the people who sit like us and talk about it. There's people who will write books. There's so much space for every single person. And so we shouldn't limit ourselves or think that it's only a certain kind of person that, can make a change. And so at the end of the day, whatever is happening is going to affect you. You can't escape it. This is your country. This is where you're coming from. It will affect you, and you'd rather say you tried and you helped to move the problem, from A to B, and things have gotten better.
Yeah.
And the next people will pick up where you left, and they will, move it to the next point.
Yeah. That was really insightful. Thank you so much. I think I'm just really fangirling, but really not. But yeah.
What do you think, though?
Yeah, what do I think? What do I think? I think there's much work to be done when you start there, but I think we do have that. I mean, if you're seeing protests around the world these days, it's unprecedented, I feel like. And that gives me hope because people are no longer accepting status quo. So I think that's a good place to start. We're not accepting what we feel we're given, we're questioning it. And I think that's a good place to start.
So we're heading in the right trajectory.
So, yes.
So with that process.
All right, thank you guys so much. I really look forward to having you.